This is a video review of the 2008 Kawasaki KLR650. I bought this bike on March 19th. It's now July 2nd, so I've had it a little over 3 months. It's got 3,500 miles on it, and I'd like to share with you some of my riding impressions and my thoughts on the bike in general. Take a look at it here. As you can see, it's the green color. Don't have too many modifications on it. It's primarily stock, with the exception of some luggage, GPS, and some tires, which I'll talk about. You see the bike, the biggest difference probably with the previous generation of the KLR is the large fairing in the front, which offers a lot of wind protection on the highway. And it's a pretty tall bike. One thing that I realized as soon as I got on it was you're sitting as high as an SUV, which gives you really outstanding vision, but for shorter riders it's a little bit more difficult and challenging. I have a 30-inch inseam, and I found that I can maneuver it without too much trouble. And as the bike has gotten older, the shocks have kind of settled a little bit to where it's even easier to put my feet down, where I can practically flat foot the bike with both feet. Let's take a look at some of the specifics of the bike, and I'll go through some of my impressions. Well, this is the front end. You can see that it's got a single disc brake, which supposedly works better than the previous generation, but it doesn't have a tremendous amount of stopping power. You know, you're going to probably find yourself wanting a little bit more. Some people put stainless steel brake lines on. I haven't tried that yet. I'm fairly satisfied with a stock brake, but there's definitely some room for improvement there. The shocks are a little bit beefier than the previous generation. You've also got the new fender, which people call a beak, which I kind of like the looks of. Some people change. You've got the new headlight, which really at night offers some outstanding vision. It's really good. I like that. The bike also has, you can see on this side, a gear-driven speedometer cable, which you haven't seen one of those in quite a while. Underneath, we have on the left-hand side of the screen, we'll have the radiator overflow tank where you fill up your antifreeze, and the right side is a radiator. This is a water-cooled bike. And also down below, you can see you've got the factory skid plate, which is plastic, which a lot of people will go ahead and replace that with something aluminum, something a little beefier. Looking here at the front of the bike, the handguards are plastic from the factory. There's nothing that ties it into the end of the handlebar. And a lot of people like to go with some type of a bark buster or crash bar, something like that. I will say that the factory guards offer a lot of protection on the highway from the wind, but off-road, you know, if you drop it, you're probably going to break something still. The windshield is, for me, I'm about 5'9". It's totally adequate on the highway. Don't have too many troubles with it. Some people like to get a taller windscreen. Taking a look at the cockpit of the bike, the mirrors work really pretty well. You can actually see stuff on the highway. You know, it's not crystal clear. You get some vibration, but overall, I think it's much better than a lot of motorcycles, so I really think those are good. This bike has a cable clutch, which you don't see too often on, well, I guess on off-road bikes is pretty common, but it takes a cable that may have to be replaced every so often. The bike also has a clutch lever right here that, when you start the bike in the morning, has to be flipped up, then flipped down. The bike starts very easily when it's cold. Really don't have any trouble with it running. Going over to the other side, you do have hydraulic brakes in the front, which are nice. I added a little Vista Cruise throttle lock just for the highway, which works fairly well. There's a RAM mount here for video camera or digital camera. Looking at the gauges here, you have tachometer on the left, you have a speedometer on the right and in the center there, and on the total right you have a temperature gauge, which this bike, one of the big issues people have is that it runs very cool. If you're riding anywhere on the highway, even now in July, the meter will stay pretty far down towards the cold side. Some people do a modification called the thermal bob to fix that. It's about $100. The gauges, this speedometer is going to read about 5 miles an hour too fast. You're going to have to compensate for that. Kawasaki cut a few corners here to where You don't have any kind of idiot light for oil pressure or battery. You're pretty much on your own. And the turn signal only has one little light, so you're not sure if you're got your right signal on or your left signal. You know, just some areas where they've cut costs, but you know, this is a $5,000 bike, so I guess you can expect that. I added a little thermometer from Aerostitch, which works pretty well. It has locking steering column, gas cap, takes a key. I added a GPS system, which I really like, and I can highly recommend the Garmin Zumo. That's pretty much all up front. Looking more at the chassis body of the bike, you've got a 6-gallon gas tank, which offers outstanding range. I usually can get about 220 miles before the reserve goes on, and this bike does have a reserve on it to where you will have to flip that lever over as you start to, you'll run out of gas at about 220 miles or so. Flip it over, you've got another gallon left. But the 6-gallon tank has a lot of range. The gas mileage on the bike is not what I expected. I expected over 50. I'm getting somewhere around 48, high 40s. The bike is broken in now, so I thought I'd get a little bit better than that. The seat, this is the stock seat on the bike. A lot of people will change it out to something like a Sargent or Corbin that's a little bit narrower, lower, so to give you maybe an extra inch of ground clearance. I'm very satisfied with the seat. I find it to be very comfortable. Haven't had any trouble with it. I don't do any long traveling, more or less just commuting, but it's worked out really good. The only difference I've seen with some other bikes I've owned is that it tends to put a lot of your weight on your tailbone because it's a very upright riding position. The bars are right in front of you.